I think we should be proud and justified in having a big birthday party on July 4th, 1976.
It means a wonderful anniversary that reminds us of our heritage here in America.
Revolution, that's what it means.
Well, it's just a celebration of 200 years. Lots of work and much progress, I think.
It's a good thing. It's a big celebration. It's like a great big birthday. I'm glad it's happening. I'm really excited about it.
I don't see a great orgy of celebration. Right now, we don't have a great deal to celebrate.
I feel that it might leave a lot of people out.
I'm just thankful to be here, be a part of the centennial.
It's a patriotic thing. It's really a birthday celebration and shouldn't just be for the money that people can get out of it.
I think any country ought to have tradition, history, 200th anniversary. Might as well celebrate it just like your 30th birthday.
I don't know. I hadn't thought about it too much, but we have been discussing it for some time.
To me, it's like a celebration, you know, of only the last 200 years of this country. But everything prior to that, you know, that ought to be included too, you know, because it's still the country, you know, and those people, their descendants are still here.
For me, it doesn't have any real significant meaning. I mean, what's the difference between 199 years or 201 years? I don't really have any particular feel about 200 years.
You know, the bicentennial's been kind of a dirty word here in Philadelphia and throughout the country, I think.
In many ways, the bicentennial is just being fabricated.
I'm concerned that the bicentennial is still saying things that were okay 10, 15, 20 years ago, but I don't know if they're okay now.
At this point in this day, I really don't see any advantage of the bicentennial.
If at the time of the bicentennial, we still have, 8% unemployment, I can't see any reason to go around patting ourselves on the back for having just survived 2 centuries.
Somehow I feel that it's like a big fad. Things that are being put on are good if something positive comes out. And a lot of things are, I'm talking about celebrations and such. It's so much money is being spent, and this whole idea, but somehow the whole idea, the meaning doesn't really saturate.
The bicentennial is about values. It's about how these values have woven and threaded themselves through the last 200 years to make the history that we're living today.
It's the future that we're grabbing hold of, and that's what I think the bicentennial, that's what it means personally to me. It's celebrating the future, that we've come this far in our nation, and that now we have the whole future ahead of us to go.
I'm not sure we need to say this is a bicentennial story. This is the story of America and the story of what made this country great.
The bicentennial ought to be a celebration, a very personal kind of thing for everyone involved of the reasons that they are thankful, if they are, to be a part of these United States.
The important point about the bicentennial is we're celebrating the American Revolution 200 years ago, the first great modern revolution in recorded history. And the original mandate that Congress prescribed setting up the bicentennial was very clear on how we were to celebrate. It said the bicentennial must be a time to reaffirm the revolutionary principles that founded this nation and a time to apply those principles to the life of America today. That's what we're celebrating, a revolution.
No one has the right answer about what the bicentennial means to this country. It's what everybody thinks inside of himself. That's what the bicentennial is. It's not a particular party line or a federal government line or a Park Service line about here's what the bicentennial means.
This country is faced with so many problems. I just can't stand aside and say, hip, hip, hooray for the bicentennial, you know, America's made it. I think it's more a time of rededication of national prayer than I do of just unrestrained joy because we've made 200 years. We have a long way to go, baby, as Billie Jean King might have paraphrased it.
If I'm right about the mess that we're in economically today, it's the result of prosperity, of a long period where people wanted more and more of everything.
I don't know, maybe progress is regress. I think we've done already enough, enough buildings and enough covering the earth with concrete and destroyed enough in nature already that maybe progress is regress. I don't know.
I think so often we're involved with our own problems and thoughts, and we don't stop to think about all that's going on and being done in our country that's good, and you kind of forget to think about your country sometimes. And it's important to just take some time and think about what a great country we have.
I think one of the important things that we have to keep in mind during the bicentennial is what part of our heritage have we been preserving? Have we been preserving the material things, the buildings, the papers, the documents, or have we been preserving the ideas, the principles of freedom, of liberty, of justice, of equality? I'm really afraid that our country's paid much more attention, if you look at the budget of some of these groups and organizations, into preserving the material aspects, and not enough has gone into preserving the ideals and principles.
When we think about the bicentennial, we need to also think about those pieces of paper that were written then. The Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, why the Continental Congress. All of these things then meant the same as they mean now to people. The Constitution, the words should mean the same, but do they mean the same thing?
The Constitution that was written originally has all the fundamentals that are necessary, I think.
Out of the 200 years, I think this country, all the Bill of Rights and all that stuff, might have gone down for the first 10 years, but like, it's not really true anymore.
We're endorsing the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1976, but you know, an Associated Press has done a study in Miami where they gave out the Declaration of Independence and didn't say what it was and asked people if they would endorse it. Only one person out of 50 on a Miami street corner would endorse the Declaration. You know what they said why they wouldn't endorse it? This is commie junk, the work of a raver. I'm going to tell the FBI about this kind of stuff. So these are the kinds of problems that we face. We have strayed so far from the original conception of what patriotism and love of country is that we now believe that everything that this country stood for is subversive. I think we have to get back on the right track. We have to start seeing what our forefathers and mothers were saying. No one wears American flag lapel pins anymore, have you noticed? People have lost faith. People don't know what patriotism is anymore.
We have so many more people. We're so much more numerous than we were back there. And another thing, we have the different nationality problems, the different color problems. However, we have begun to accept some of it, I think.
There's a lot of divisions here in the United States. Used to be called the melting pot. I don't know what's happening here. You know, maybe the compounds are beginning to separate again, and the people in the United States are diverging again. So, like, if they're going to do anything rather than celebrating, I think it's the time to start implementing all the things they have on paper, getting it out into the streets.
If some people that are in power right now would sort of reconstruct quickly what took place in 1776 and what the colonies wanted, these are what the minorities sometimes want.
The bicentennial can be made to mean something, you know. but it has to focus on all people and what the United States claims itself to be, you know. So
the same kinds of things that have happened when the nation rallied around the plight of the retarded, the senior citizen, the black, the disadvantaged, the broader scope, women. Out of all of that is some residue that makes us a better society to live in, makes a government that's more effective and more resourceful and more aware and more responsive to a particular set of problems. And I think that's what will happen as a result of the bicentennial.
I think that if we can look at ourselves after 200 years and see how far we've gone, then maybe we can rededicate ourselves to making things a little bit better. There's a lot of bad things we've seen so far, and we know where they're at. All we got to do is go and try to make them better. We're in a position to do it.
I think that's one of the important things of this time is to look ahead and to know that the country can be changed. It has that potential, and that it does have a lot of promise, the same amount of promise perhaps that the people who came over the colonies carried with them.
It's 200 years. It's almost like a rebirth for the country.
I feel like it would be good for our morale to feel like we can rally around something and say to ourselves that we still have something that's good, and just to acknowledge that and recognize it.
The bicentennial, I think it could be a very profitable thing for business here in Washington.
Well, it's a bad time, I think, to have it. So I really don't know what we have to gain by it.
Well, after Watergate, the morale of the country's low. Maybe if we could inject some national spirit back into the country, it would do a lot of good.
What they'd like it to gain is a sense of, you know, sort of togetherness or spirit or renewed effort to trying to work out some of our disastrous problems. God knows if that could happen.
I suppose we could get a little bit more unity, a feeling of unity in the country, maybe. But I think that if the people would get the economic situation together, we'd have a much greater sense of unity than celebrating a bicentennial.
I think that we would be convinced that it's a great thing to be an American.
I think maybe the best thing for this country is 1975 being International Women's Year, even more than 1976 being bicentennial, you know, because I think maybe women should have a larger say in really what happens in this world, our basic loving tendencies, you know, rather than let's beat each other's heads in to get what we want. You know, let's love each other. Let's not kill each other. And, you know, I feel that that's the way it's got to go. And if it doesn't go that way, we're going to blow each other off the face of the earth.
We've learned more or less to live together. We haven't accomplished much yet, but I hope by the next 200 years, this thing will have been united to where we're all one instead of divided.
I feel the same way he does. I mean, those are my comments also.
I think if we can do anything with the bicentennial, then it is leaving Americans feeling that they are a part of something, and they do have a role to play, and they should be a participant.
I think we can do a lot to make Americans proud of their country. Learning more about it and feeling that, gee, this is great, and it's part of my country, and I'm an American. And look what we've preserved, what we've done in 200 years. They can also begin to think about some of the alternatives. What if it hadn't worked out this way? So, you know, it's darn important to me, and I want all the others to feel just like I do, naturally. And we're going to have a lot of discussion, honest discussion about it.
It's going to make our country a much more viable unit.
I'd like to see the bicentennial deal with the kind of future I think we're going to have, and I think it's going to be a sort of troubled future. And I'd like to see the bicentennial as a way of getting people together to take some troubled times and do it together, do it communally. This is the biggest thing I think the bicentennial ought to do. And that means it ought to grab a lot of people who need identification, don't have it now, and I think are somewhat being left out.
We're trying to show the students that they really are a part of history, they're a part of nature, and that they are, that they will be the ones that are carrying the ball in the future, that the history will continue on, that they will be the history in the next 200 years, and that we're just celebrating this moment in time, and they're just part of it, a very lucky part to be here and be in a time when a nation does celebrate a birthday.
Just to brighten up the cities, to put the Liberty Bell in a different house and take photographs and do what, the interviewing like you're doing right now. It's not enough. It's gotta mean something, People have to have the sense of history and know what's behind it.
Maybe we should all read the Declaration of Independence a few times.
I think that we should become conscious of what other people that came before us have left for us in the line of buildings and parks.
There should be a lot of fun aspects of it, that the parks could do.
Parades, people drinking, stuff like that.
It should be like the Mardi Gras held in New Orleans, like get everybody into it, Everybody come to a good party.
Well, I don't think we should celebrate it the way sort of commercialized type thing. I think you should just have respect for it, and that's it. Quiet, dinner, friends, family, whatever.
Of course, down around Texas, they just celebrate it the way they would have years ago.
I feel like we should celebrate by a party, just, like on the Mardi Gras, like that. And it'd be getting all races and creeds and age groups and everything together, and everybody just party together, to bring you more closer. Bring everybody in the world more closer. If they, we can start here and just move it on all across the country. At a certain time of the year, everybody just start partying. That'd be what to do, this party. For weeks. Like February would be the month. Everybody just party the whole month of February.
Well, I think pulling out collections from the past is a valuable thing, and having a lot of displays would be good.
I think they should help towns, do what they think is a good idea, but I don't think they should spend a lot of money, grand scale. Trams, waterfalls, carousels, that sort of effect.
I would suggest a parade. I think that would be appropriate.
Parades and, well, I'm in a service, so I know it's going to be a big day.
Television, movies. This is particularly television. That's what kids watch, and I think this is where they'll find out their history. And our kids learn more from television than anything else, because that's what they watch.
I think everything has to be appropriate to the area. I don't think you can fake it. I think, first of all, the American public is too sophisticated. They see too much entertainment on television and in the movies. They want the genuine thing. And the genuine thing nowadays is not fife and drum marching down the main street. That's old hat. It's got to be mass participation based upon mass understanding. So to me, it's a great educational effort to get people to realize what the history of this country really has been, the warts as well as the beauty spots.
We are not necessarily the greatest people that ever existed on this earth. I would hate to see any sort of bicentennial celebration that even intimated that we thought we were. We've broken down. We have to rebuild. On what are we going to rebuild? On more and more prosperity? No, we're going to rebuild on the basis of adversity, whether you like it or not. Are we going to have more and more of everything? No. For a long period now, we're going to have less and less of everything. We're going to be more like the people who existed on this continent, the white people on this continent 200 years ago. Stop and think. was the very fact that they had to struggle so hard, the origin of all the merits they developed. Is it good not to struggle?
200 years ago, the times were just as perilous as today, just as grave. And people like Tom Paine, he was a corset maker. Abigail Adams was a housewife. Ben Franklin was a printer. But they lived in very great times. It called for great people, great leadership, and great actions. And they rose to that occasion, and they were able to change the course of their destiny. That's what has to happen today. We can't look, you and I can't look and wait for a leader to emerge on a white horse who's going to bring us out of this crisis. That's not the way democracy works. We are going to have to do it. We're going to have to stand up for what we believe in. We're going to have to commit our time and energy. We're going to have to come together as a social force in this country that's pledged to democratic rights as they extend to the economy and the government of this nation. That's the only way we're going to be able to preserve this republic intact in the 3rd century. If we don't, our children will grow up in a very different type of a country than the one that our founders envisioned.
I think that rather than emphasizing events and people and places, the kinds of things that are listed in the NPS Bicentennial Daybook, that really our celebration of the bicentennial ought to be dealing more with ideas. That it's like at any park where you're trying to deal specifically with facts, people are going to forget those facts as soon as they pass out of the gates of the park. But if you try to deal with ideas, with thoughts, with processes, and try to communicate those a little bit to people, those are the kinds of things that they'll take home with them.
Well, I think that we could say that the National Park Service has a greater role than protecting the natural resources that make up the systems of the National Park Service. I think it was so eloquently stated by Newton Drury in 1951 when he was sworn in as the director of the National Park Service, that the greater value that these areas have is in ministering to the human mind and spirit. I think that sort of sets the stage for what we could be doing in the bicentennial.
If there's some way that people can be made aware that they are as much a part of the celebration as the actual show itself, then I think a great deal will have been accomplished.
If each person would go out and try to do what they can, instead of saying, it's dog eat dog, you know, I have to make it for me. If people would do for themselves too and help other people, you know, try to build this place up, then maybe the place would be better and worth celebrating about, you know.
Well, we need more togetherness. We need to love one another. And then we got to work together. You know, we have a habit of thinking that we can't do the things we want to do. But if you just try, it's a lot of things you can do. And sometimes we segregate our own selves just by thinking and not trying. But if we try, we can go on with whatever, and you'd be surprised at how it'll work out.
There's going to have to be more volunteer input by individuals. In some cases, many cases, submerging their own egos for the betterment of all. And this is going to be something that America, that may be the prime lesson of the bicentennial, is that, you know, we're all in this together. And we better start acting that way instead of every man for himself.
To say something to you right now off the top of my head would be either a gross generalization or a thoughtless comment. You have to sit down and think. But encouraging everyone to sit down and think, I think, would be a prosperous venture.
The hardest task, Emerson said that the hardest task that human beings have is to think. And there are occasions when it's not only difficult to think, but actually painful. there hasn't been a moment in the past 200 years in this country where it was more painful